Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nia. If you're new, welcome, nice to meet you. Make sure to subscribe and join the family. So today I'm going to be walking you all through the 100 painting challenge. So I started this challenge a few weeks ago now and I filmed 3 separate videos, so if you haven't watched any of those, I'll link them in the description and in the cards for you so you can check them out. And that was a 3-day challenge where every single day I would paint 33 paintings, and then on the 3rd day I'll paint 34 paintings, and that will accumulate to 100 paintings. So I did that challenge just to get myself back into the flow of creating art and hopefully creating some new things that I would find interesting, things that I can use in my new pieces or inspire new pieces, and then whatever I don't like I can just put in my sketchbook, because I don't like to throw anything away when it comes to art, because I can always reuse it in some way, and I just think that's so beautiful, the recycling element of art. So I am going to walk through all of the paintings that I did, say what I liked about it, what I learned, what kind of materials were used, and how I'm going to use it in the future, if I'm going to keep it for my new pieces or if I'm just going to put it in my sketchbook. So let's go. So here is the first piece that I made, and I actually like the squiggly lines. I don't necessarily like the color combination and I don't really like these little pink diamonds here. However, I do like certain sections, so I feel like I can just rip out the sections that I like and collage that into something, because I do think that there is something there. However, I just wish that I didn't do the little bits around the edges. This was my second piece and I love this one. I just like the iridescence, and the color combination is definitely one of my favorites, and I like the negative space, so this will definitely be something that I would want to turn into a painting. I think it would be a nice background for something with some really like bright fluorescent pink spots here and there, like maybe some roses or something. I just think this would be a very nice electric kind of piece, but I'll make sure to keep a lot of neutrals in there and maybe add bits of creamy white here and there just to offset the bright colors. This one is when I started to use my Caran d'Ache, doing some little illustrations. I don't know. I won't use this for anything, but I think it'll be a nice sketchbook piece. It does look like it reminds me of a children's storybook illustration, which I think is kind of cute, like a very wonderful, wondrous land. And then I started to experiment with some shapes, so this was just like a very simple one, not something that I think I will use. Some more shapes, doing a lot of circles, and I kind of found this really fun to do, so I'd like to see if I can experiment and push this idea even further, maybe adding some more elements. I don't know what I could add to it yet, but I just think it's a very nice foundation for some interesting pieces of abstract art, or maybe adding elements of realism here and there. And the same with this one. I was bringing back in that color combination that I showed you in my second painting, and I just really like the dark purple with the silvers and the blacks. I just really like this, and I tried to use this color combination again to do a rose. I do like this section, but I think it should have ended there. I shouldn't have continued it onwards, and I think it would be really cool to have some leaves and some really like floral elements going all around, like really small details in black. I think that would look really cool. And I guess I was trying to experiment with that a little bit. I made the rose a lot smaller, which I'm very happy with, and adding some black elements in the background. I think that this is a nice stopping point for this piece, but if I was to do it again, I would definitely make it a lot more different and a lot more interesting and exciting. I definitely think this is a good foundation for a fun piece. And then I started doing like some really interesting kind of, I don't know, it looks almost kind of tribal. I like the colors with this one, and I kind of like the fact that I've got some signature shapes that I use quite often, so I think that's really fun to experiment with. And this one, I have no idea what was going on here, but I like this green against this brown. I think it's such a nice color, and the copper, or is it bronze? I can't remember. But yeah, I don't like this section here. But it needed something. I just haven't thought what it could have needed. Maybe it could do with a bit of green, but I kind of like that this stands out on its own, and I do like the shape of this. It's very freeing. Then we've got some ocean looking kind of thing. And what I liked about doing this one is that I can still see the shapes that I made underneath it, even though it's got this layer of color that fades into itself. I think that's something that I would definitely like to experiment more with, and I did do a variation of different patterns underneath. Again, I think the first one looks a lot better than just having the same kind of squiggle. And then moving on to some more interesting shapes. I really like this one, and I would like to make this like a smaller element within a bigger piece of art, so maybe have it like covering one corner and then having some different things going on somewhere else. But I definitely really like this and want to incorporate it into my paintings. This one, not so much, but I do like the colors, using a bit of solid marker with some inks. Then I did some more pattern things, and I like the circles with these triangle bits. I'm not sure about these diagonal ones, and just trying to experiment with colors. I really like this actually, that it doesn't quite flow properly, but it still looks really interesting and suits each other. And I love this color scheme going on here. It's one of my favorites, with the bronzish kind of gold, the silver and the black. And I like that the black isn't overpowering. It's very simple, and it's got some thin elements and some thicker bits, and it's quite watered down, which makes the rest of the colors really stand out. More shapes, which I do like. It's quite simple and minimalist, and tried to do some different color schemes, which I really like this one actually. And maybe I could fade it even into a bit more pink at the bottom. I like the shapes. This one is one of my favorites in terms of the shapes and the colors. It's very strong, but it makes you feel like you're actually moving along with the piece, which I think is really cool. Same with this one of my favorites. It looks quite acrobatic, which I really love. Like, aerial arts is one of my favorite things to look at, and that was one of the earliest things that I used to draw. So I think I could incorporate some people doing some really cool acrobatics throughout this piece. Then I started doing some words and stuff. I think this, I can't remember what this says actually, but I do like it, that I can write with my high flows. Then we have this piece, which definitely set me on a new trajectory with what I can create, like making my, it looks kind of symbolic and very like, much like a medieval, well not medieval, but earlier than that, like caveman kind of letter kind of thing. I don't know if cavemen ever existed, but I really like that it looks like its own language, but it's very much in my world of Nia, which I definitely want to incorporate in some of my new pieces. Definitely got the X's and O's and the hashtags and stuff that I use a lot, but I just like the flow of it. And I tried to recreate it a few times. I don't really like this one as much, but it's all about experimentation and using different colors. This pink is very nice with the brown, and I like this rose, and I like this section, but I just don't think it all flows together as nicely as I would like. Try to do it again. I love the black with this green, and this is my favorite kind of rose now, with the purple and pink, and then the touches of black here and there. This one didn't work so well, but I like this element here on its own, and I like this element on its own. and this element on its own. So I could definitely collage those. Did a bit of scribbles and with my inks, and I do like the different lines that I was able to create with that. Try to do that thing again. I like this section here. And again, I really like this one actually. It's very different, but I think it's a nice background for a painting. I like the inside of the diamonds, but I don't really like the diamond shape, and I feel like there's too much empty space going on here, so it can definitely be something that I can use for a main piece. This was the last one that I did for the first day, and I just think it's really beautiful. Then we did some more shapes, and this one is very simple, something that I'll use for my sketchbook. I don't really see it being incorporated too heavily in anything new, and just trying out different shapes with the Caran d'Ache. This I don't really like, but this was when I started using the gouache paint, and I just don't like the colors really and the texture. This one I love because I used quite a few different techniques to make it, and it just looks like it's underwater and moving with the waves, which is an element that I think I would like to continue on with, and I can see like fish and other coral and things going on within it that wants to emerge somewhere. So then this one reminds me of a jungle, same kind of idea. I can see birds and trees and stuff. This one, maybe it could be out of space, but I just love these colors. These are my favorite colors. So I was just trying to see if there was different ways that I can combine them together, and I did it again and used a different kind of ink on top, which I think gives an interesting effect. I wish there was kind of a bit more black at the bottom to offset the top though. This one reminds me of the Caribbean. I like that for that fact alone, and I try to use those colors a bit more, making like feathers and leaves and stuff. This one, I think it's just the way that it dried. I would try using a little less black ink next time so it doesn't run as much. And I like these little circles that I did, and I liked the idea of having a different type of ink on top of the Caran d'Ache to make a pattern. So I tried that again. And again, this ink was a bit too runny and the paper was a little bit too wet, and tried that idea again with the squares and stuff. I like this one. I think this one's a bit too simple for my taste. It's just a little not so outside of the box. Same with this one, but I like that I try to do a different type of shape. Then this one I love because I like the middle, because it looks like some sort of galaxy, and I just let the ink run wherever it wanted to, and I tried it again. If I can make it the inside a bit brighter, then that would just be perfect. I kind of managed to do it with this one, which I just think is so beautiful, merging the two colors together. And then I started to use the same kind of technique with different colors, and this color scheme is one of my new favorites. So I tried it again with just different shapes and stuff, and I just think it's so beautiful. This one is gorgeous as well, the greens and the blues. So I'm definitely going to be experimenting with these moving forward. Moving on, I tried the same thing again, just with my new favorite color scheme, and it reminds me of like the Sahara, or like it reminds me of a safari, and I just really love that. Lions and tigers and all of that good stuff. Then I did some more shapes with some Caran d'Ache and then with some inks, and I actually prefer the ink element of it than, I don't like these Caran d'Ache squares. However, I still think it's a nice background for something, so I'd keep these the same and then have like a more realistic feature that covers the top of those. And again, I tried that same kind of idea. These were supposed to be hashtags and like diamonds and stuff, but it just kind of dried a bit funny, so you can't really see that anymore. And I tried a softer version of my safari color scheme, and I think at this point I was running out of things that I could do, or was getting really bored with what I was creating. So that's why they're getting that this one doesn't look as exciting. And just went back to my good old blue and black and silver, adding drops here and there. I like this one. It's very happy and playful, which is an element that I would like to try to recreate in some of my paintings. Just make them more playful, have like little animals or something just playing with each other. I think that would be really fun. Back to my squares, and I just did little doodles here and there, trying to see how much water I could put on without making it look washed out or anything. And I think I've got quite a good balance here. Tried it again and I accidentally laid another piece on top of it. That's why there's some blue speckles here, but I kind of like it. And I do actually think that this color scheme is a bit boring now. It's boring in this sense. So I want to figure out a way that I can make this more exciting. Then I just did some solid marker squiggles, and I like these. These are actually an element that I've been drawing for many years. When I do my little doodles, I do actually draw these, but I draw them super small so you can't really see it. So this is like that kind of squiggle under a microscope, which is kind of cool. And then just trying some different blending techniques within some squares. This I love this. This kind of goes back to my little symbolism kind of thing, and this just pushes it up to a different level using less inks and stuff. This is just solid marker and a Posca pen, and I just love the simplicity of it. I want to see if I can incorporate this some way within my new paintings. It's just more fun to do different things other than just like diamonds and hashtags and stuff. So I try to create some new things and I'm loving this. Then I try to recreate something similar along those lines, and I do actually like this. Maybe I just won't have it as washed out, so I'll use like a more solid color in the middle because I think that just looks nice. But this looks nice on its own, but if I was gonna put that in a painting, I wouldn't want this to be washed. And tried that again. Again, the same idea. I really like it. These, I don't know. I don't know about these, but this, I really love it. And maybe I wouldn't make these ones washed out. I'd keep them nice and solid. And this one, I love this one as well. And I used some ink to draw those, which I actually like. So I like to have the elements of things being washed out and fading into the background, kind of like galaxy under the microscope kind of thing. And then having some really stronger elements that are impenetrable, like what's solid, that won't move. So I like that. And I also like this one. This looks like a pumpkin or something, I don't know. I'll have these elements on their own and I'll have this element on its own because I don't think it matches together as nicely as I would like. And just trying some more doodle stuff, and I do like this. This is a very fun kind of background layer, or like something that I'll just have in the corner of a painting again, but not the full thing unless I'm covering it with something. This, I love it so much. When I was doing it though, I was actually kind of frightened of it. I thought, okay, this looks not like how I would want it to look. It looks a bit creepy, but now that it's dried, I actually really like it. I don't like the fact that these look like horns. I was trying to make it as a cross, an X, but it doesn't necessarily look like an X, so I would probably make these straight or something, or just have like one going here and one going there instead of the two, because it does look creepy to me. Then I did a kind of butterfly, and I actually really enjoyed the idea of doing some Caran d'Ache for the background, like just washing the water soluble wax pastels and then drawing over it with an ink drop. I just thought it just looks so sketchy but so painterly at the same time, which I like seeing the brush strokes and the whole movement of the artist as it goes on. And as I was making these, I was standing up as well, so you can really see my arm movements in it, which I just think is really nice. And I tried to do it again, and I guess it's just this paper that I didn't like, or the amount of water that was used, so just trying to find the balance. I drew a scary looking person. I don't really like this one, but this is when I was just a bit bored and didn't really know what to do anymore. Then more writing, and this one I like the simplicity of it. I like how it looks like it's the ocean, but it also looks like it's the sky. It's just very dreamy and ethereal, and I like this color scheme. This one is a bit too bright for me, for my liking. It's just a bit too bright. This one is also a bit too bright, but I like that the colors, I figured out a way to use the orange, yellows, and reds without it being basic. So I think that's a good achievement for that. And I also like this one, and I wrote in the deep blue sea is when you feel free. And I kind of like that I started to incorporate my little thoughts and poetry and stuff within my paintings. That's definitely something I want to push forward. Then this one just says Ocean Love, and it's actually one of my favorite songs from this film that I love and am terrified of at the same time, called Help, I'm a Fish. If anyone knows that film, you are amazing, because I don't know if a lot of people actually know about that film, but I'm scared of that one fish within that film. But at the beginning credits, it has that song played in a different way, and you can hear the ocean as the backdrop, and it's just so stunning. Eddie Reader, amazing. So this is a little, I love this piece actually. I might actually hang it up somewhere in my room because it's stunning. Then this one just says The Blue, and that's another song that I like by Breather, except it's a bit too quiet for me. When you like put the volume all the way up, it's still really quiet, so the levels are not to my taste with that song, but it's definitely, I really like that song, and I just call this The Blue. It doesn't necessarily have any connotation to the song, but I kind of like that there is that connection. Maybe in like my subconscious, I'm just making connections to things that I really like. This is another one, me experimenting with the symbols that I use a lot within my pieces. I don't necessarily know what they all mean, or haven't necessarily thought about them too much, but I like that they're there and that they're a reoccurring theme, as we can see. Doing a little black and white thing, trying to see the differences with the inks. And I low-key kind of ran out of black ink through this whole process. This one says Leave It Alone, which is another one of my favorite songs by Eugene. And I love his voice within that song. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so I just wrote that and did a few doodles around it. But I actually like the simplicity of it. Again, there's nothing really special about it, but it's just beautiful. Then I have Somewhere Only I Know instead of Somewhere Only We Know. It's not necessarily one of my favorite songs, but I like the Lily Allen version, and I accidentally stuck another piece on top of it and it dried, and when I tried to peel it off, that happened. So there's that. I don't think this is an amazing piece, but what I do like about it is that there's so many scribbles on it, and you can still, and the fact that it says Somewhere Only I Know, it's like within the depths of my mind, and I understand what's happening here. I understand the function of it all, and I kind of like that metaphor. So I kind of like metaphorical kind of pieces. I think those are a really interesting thing to explore, seeing as I really love English literature as well. And music, obviously. So merging everything that I love into one is just so fun to me, and I love this explosion of color. I just put a drop of ink and then just kind of spread it around, and it just, these two colors are my absolute favorites, baby pink and baby blue. Tried it again with a darker background, but I don't think I achieved the look that I was going for. And then I tried it with just the main color being blue. I added a bit of green and white in there, and I think this looks super cool. Then I did it with the red and orange, bronze, gold, and I actually really like it. I don't know what I would add to it. Maybe like a bit more depth in terms of adding some breathing spaces here and there, but I don't know. And I like this because it's also my favorite color schemes. And I like this one purely for its simplicity and beauty. And I also like this one because I like the splashes that I put on there, and I'll definitely use this as a piece. I think this is a stunning backdrop for something, or even the foreground. So having this as a small section and then having something else in the background, like abstract or something, I don't know. And this one, again, gorgeous. I just really like having this thin black flowy lines, but they're so like solid but still really flowy, and I like that idea a lot. And this color scheme is nice. There's enough blank space here that it's not overwhelming, but it's all kind of goes into this kind of rectangle shape, so it flows very well and it looks like a complete piece, which I think is really cool. This one is almost on the verge of that. Yeah, it pretty much is on the verge of that. I just think I'd like to have a bit darker browns going on the corners here, but for the most part I think it was quite a successful piece. And then I tried it again, and I really like these ideas again. I definitely think it will be something that I will be doing moving forward, just to add a bit more depth to my paintings. It's just really nice. This one I don't really like it too much. I did this on cardboard. I like this section here, and I wrote the word love in a Posca pen and then went over it in ink. And I think I was just experimenting with the colors more so than anything else. Then I tried something similar again, and I think it's all right. It's a nice start, but not anywhere near finished what I would like it to be. And then piece 100, the last piece that I did, I think I just kind of rushed this one because I was like, yes, I'm at the end and there's nothing really going on here that I think is too incredible. I like this smiley face, and I think that's really fun because I did design a few characters that I did with my alcohol markers. I like doing doodle characters, so I think that's something that I want to move forward with, adding some characters within my pieces just to make them more fun and a little bit more whimsical. But I want to actually create characters that I would want to be reoccurring instead of just doing something just for a comedic effect. So that's something that I'll definitely explore. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a massive thumbs up. If you have tried the 100 painting challenge, please let me know in the comments. If you have any like photos or videos, let me know because I'd love to see what you created. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.